it's Henry, and this is the 6th video diary about my prostate cancer that I'm making, and today's Friday the 6th of March. And this is actually going to be a two-parter. I'm going to record this bit now, and it's currently about 12:15 lunchtime, and I'm going to record a second part this evening. The reason is that today I'm actually going to see my oncologist at the Royal Sussex County Hospital, and he's going to, as far as I'm aware, he's going to tell me a number of things. The first thing he's going to tell me is what the results were of another MRI scan that I had. I had that a couple of weeks ago now. Probably about 3 weeks, in fact, and that I hope will confirm that the cancer hasn't actually spread any further. That will confirm the results of the CT scan that I had a little while before that, and that actually the cancer is well controlled by the hormone therapy. So that's the first thing I hope he's going to say. The second thing is he's going to actually tell me now what they're going to be doing to me, when they're going to be doing it, how long it's going to be going on for. And my expectation has been, as you may recall over the last couple of videos, my expectation is that they're going to give me radiotherapy starting either the end of this month, because I think they said end of March, or the beginning of April, something like that. And what they said previously was that is going to last something like 6 weeks, and I will be having to go into the hospital every day, Monday to Friday, for the radiotherapy. And obviously with the concomitant effects that might have on my health, because they're zapping me with radioactive stuff, and what that might do to my working patterns. The other thing that's happened back, in fact it was the day after I made the last video, so back on the 4th of Feb, I had my second deposit hormone injection. You might remember that the first one I had, that I named Bob, they gave me in the sort of side of my stomach next to my belly button. The second one I've had in my upper arm here. Big injection, was uncomfortable, left my arm aching quite a lot for about 48 hours, something like that, but it was doable. One of the things that I think I noticed was that for a while immediately after that injection, for a few days after that injection, I noticed an increase in the hot flushes, and perhaps an increase in the emotional episodes as well. It could be because you get the injection every 13 weeks or so every 3 months, but I think there's actually enough in the injection to give you sort of an overlap, just in case you aren't able to make an appointment on the 13 weeks. So there's probably, I don't know, actually enough in those things to last 15 or 16 weeks. So what it means is when you get the next injection, there's a bit of an overlap. So you've got kind of double bubble almost of hormonal effects, and that certainly seemed to be how I felt for a couple of days, certainly after the second injection. I had one day, I had to admit, where the emotional stuff was so overpowering, I just literally had to give up and say, that's enough. I can't actually cope with this, which obviously doesn't bode terribly well. But hey, it's kind of leveled off a bit now, but I'm still getting random, sudden, unexpected, almost inexplicable emotional episodes where I will just be talking to someone and suddenly welling up. I can feel it in the throat. The tears start coming up. Very, it's odd. I don't know if I'll ever get used to it. Yeah, it's quite odd. But there we are. It's like, I think I've said before that whatever my life was, whatever my personality was before October last year, I've sort of had to say goodbye to that. It's one of the things you have to cope with, is change in personality, or at least a change in what you have to cope with. And it's obviously going to be on a semi-permanent basis, certainly over the next kind of 2 to 3 years, something like that, whilst I'm undergoing the hormone treatment. I was kind of joking, with some friends of mine, that one of the things you have to deal with when something happens to you is that, whatever your life was before that point, as I said, it's gone now. So in effect, one of the things you're going through psychologically is grieving for the person you used to be. And in psychological terms, they call that doing the work, right? You have to do the work. Well, the hormones mean that the work's being done for me. Right? It's not like I'm having to consciously think, I need to sit down and think about and grieve for the person I used to be. It's just happening. Which I'm trying to see as a good thing, right? If there's stuff to come out, it's coming out. Whether I want it or not, it's coming to the surface. Stuff that's just I'm getting kind of little flashbacks from donkeys years ago, childhood, right? I mean, I know that as people get older anyway, and I'm 59 this year, you tend to forget what you did just now. Where did I put that pen? Where did I put my glasses? Where did I put my keys? But you'll remember stuff from the playground when you were at infant school and stuff. Relationships with people you'd long forgotten or thought you'd forgotten, but it's somehow it's in there. Of course, one of the questions is how much of it is real, how much of it is your brain inventing stuff. I don't know. This is all kind of moving into neuropsychology and stuff in areas that I'm not qualified to talk about. I am not a doctor, I am not a psychologist, but I'm learning quite a lot about my own psychology, and it's kind of interesting, I think you'd have to say. Anyway, so that's where I am. That's I've had the second hormone injection. The reason they put it in my arm, by the way, is they're not allowed to put it in the same place twice in succession. So I had a choice. I could have had arm or thigh, I think she said. I didn't fancy thigh. So arm is next time. Perhaps it can go back to stomach, or maybe they'll have to rotate again and put it in the thigh. But anyway, I've had the second one of those. I've had another MRI scan, which is another kind of 40 minutes lying in a tube throbbing at you. Oh, incidentally, on the MRI scan, this time I noticed I've got pins and needles in my fingers because you're lying sort of on your back, right, with your arms strapped down by your side. And I got pins and needles in my fingers, and that was kind of like, you're not supposed to move, so that was weird. And the nurse told me, actually the MRI scan itself, because its magnetic field, can cause that kind of pins and needles sensation. So that might be useful for you to know. If you get pins and needles, don't panic. It's just the magnetic happening and doing things, giving you pins and needles. I'd like to look into that, causing some sort of temporary, is it called neuropathy or something, where your nerve endings go, don't know what's going on. So that was interesting and weird. Not alarming, just weird. So yeah, the MRI scan was fine. Something else I wanted to mention, actually, funnily enough, I made a friend in the waiting room. There's a guy who's older than me. I'm not going to reveal anything, go into any details, but he'd had a bit of a rough time over recent months, and we got chatting in the waiting room. Lovely chap. Turns out we got some stuff in common, creatively, writing wise and stuff. He revealed that in the course of what he had first been hospitalised for, they discovered he'd got prostate cancer. So we were able to kind of exchange notes. And I can tell you that was wonderful. It was really lovely. We yattered on because they were sort of running behind a bit of the hospital, and so we had a fair amount of time sitting in waiting rooms, because we went into the outer waiting room, and then there was the inner waiting room, and then there was the inner waiting room, kind of right outside where the machines are. So there was like 3 batches of waiting. So we had a good old natter for half an hour or more, probably, in total. And it just dawned on me, this is one of the things about, being able to share your experiences with someone else who's going through the same or something very similar. So we ended up saying, well, let's exchange phone numbers, and we met for coffee. Probably about 3 weeks ago now. Had a really nice coffee and a chat, and we're going to meet again next week. So that's really lovely. And so knowing that you've got a kind of buddy who can sort of, it's someone to talk about, someone who knows what you're going through. That's a really important thing. So I think this is also one of the values of, I think it's the Prostate Cancer UK charity, have a buddy system, which I haven't explored yet, to be honest. I was on the verge of exploring it when I met this guy, which sort of made me think, oh, well, that serves its purpose for me. It's nice to have a new friend. It is nice to have a new friendship. He's a really nice bloke, and we've chatted about all sorts of stuff. Went for a nice coffee and a custard tart in a little Portuguese place nearby. It was lovely. Nice guy. So that's something to flag up to you people, that don't keep it to yourself. Goodness me, because most of what you're going to be going through is the psychological anguish of what you're facing. So don't keep it to yourself. Talk to other people, and particularly if you can find someone else who's going through something similar, obviously that's ideal. So there we are. So that was a really good, positive thing that, funnily enough, came out of my last MRI scan. Just randomly meeting someone in the waiting room. How about that? Yeah, in fact, it was quite amusing. I'll tell you what got the conversation going, because if you're having an MRI scan, you're not supposed to wear anything metallic, right? Because it's big magnets. If you're wearing stuff that's non-metallic, like a tracksuit or something like that, as long as it hasn't got a metal zip, you can stay clothed. Well, I'm dumb. I'd worn my jeans, which of course have studs and metal zips and that kind of stuff, all of them. So, Mr. Hyde, you need to get undressed and wear a gown, one of those lovely hospital gowns, pinstriped, open at the back or the front, depending on which way you have it round. So there was me in the waiting room with my bundle of clothes and my socks on and my pinstripe gown and my bare knees and shins. And that's what got the conversation going. I just turned to this guy. He was with his wife, actually, and I said, oh, yeah, I wish I'd thought of that and worn the kind of thing you're wearing. That was clever. And he said, I think your pinstripes are quite fetching, actually. We had a laugh. Basically, we had a laugh, because that's one of the things you have to learn to do, is you learn to have to learn to have a sense of humour about the things that are happening to you. And there we are, typical British waiting room with a queue of people sitting very quietly in chairs, and me and this chap and his wife got yakking away, prompted by my pinstripe gown. You got to laugh. You have got to laugh, haven't you? Anyway, that's all I'm going to say for the moment, because obviously I'm going to the hospital about 3 o'clock, something like that, for the big meeting with the oncologist, and he's going to tell me, Mr. Hyde, yes, we're going to haul you up on a big crane and drop you from a great height into this nuclear bomb or something. I don't know. But they're going to give me the lowdown on what I'm having. The other thing I need to point out is that oncologists obviously are very, very busy people, so I think he's probably going to restrict this meeting to just the facts about my treatment. All the touchy-feely stuff is what the Macmillan nursing staff are for. So after I've finished talking to you just now, I'm about to call my Macmillan specialist nursing team and see if I can get to talk to someone about some of the things. Because in fact, a couple of weeks ago, the symptoms, the side effects of my hormone treatment were so bonkers, I actually rang the Macmillan helpline, and they have a Yes, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, and so on. There's actually someone I got to talk to who specialises in the side effects of treatment. And so I said, oh, this is happening to me. And he was a lovely guy, very reassuring. Yes, this is very common. This is not unusual. This is what people go through. It's good that I've rang up and talked to someone about it. And he said, what I need to do is talk to my specialist nursing team, who will let the doctors know that I'm having these sometimes what seem like quite extreme side effects to the hormone treatment, and next time they might choose to use a different brand of hormone. I'm on Prostate 3 is the brand I'm on. They might find that a different brand, literally, even though surely it's the same sort of chemical composition, a different brand might actually have less extreme side effects. So that's important. Talk to people constantly throughout this. Talk to people. All right. And I hope me telling you this, as always, I hope you're finding it useful and helpful. I know some people have said to me, oh, they found it difficult to watch, particularly if I'm feeling emotional or whatever. I think it needs to be done, and I think the word needs to get out there. But anyway, thanks for listening and watching for this bit. And, in terms of what you see on this video, probably in just a few moments, this will segue into part 2 of today's video, which I'll record later this evening, about what the oncologist has actually said to me, what my treatment's likely to be, how I feel about that, and any other information I've managed to find out, maybe from conversation with a Macmillan nurse, which I'm going to have hopefully very shortly at lunchtime today. All right, folks, so I will speak to you again later. Hi, everyone. This is the 6th of March still, and it is now about 20 past 8 in the evening. And I'm recording this part 2 of this video after having been to see my oncologist at the Royal Sussex County Hospital. I actually got to see him at about 4:15 today, I think it was. If you think I'm looking a bit subdued or sounding a bit subdued compared to this morning, it's probably right. It was a very mixed bag of a meeting with the oncologist. There are positives. Okay, so he revealed that the result of the MRI scan I'd had recently was indeed that, on the good side, that the tumour in my prostate gland, inside the capsule itself, has been reduced by the hormone therapy. He said it has actually shrunk, which is, of course, terrific news. Unfortunately, the cancer that got out into the lymph glands doesn't appear to have responded to the hormone therapy, to the Prostate 3. And so that's obviously very disappointing. But anyway, we have to move on from there, because they are going to proceed with the radiotherapy. Now, this is where I got more information about what's going to be happening, when it's going to be happening, how long it's going to be happening for, and so on. The radiotherapy is likely to start early April. I thought it might start at the end of this month, but he says they need another kind of month between now and when they start the radiotherapy, because for two things, they needed to check my blood levels. Apparently I should have had another blood test for my PSA, prostate specific antigen levels, but for some reason the invitation to come for another blood test got lost in the system. I know I took the documents into my local doctor's surgery, but they obviously got misplaced because I wasn't invited to go for another blood test, which I should have had probably about a week ago. Hey ho, that's the National Health Service for you. So that's a bit annoying. So in fact, the first thing we did after having this appointment with my oncologist was I went over the road and got stabbed with a needle by a very lovely nurse who took some blood for that to then be rushed over to the urology department to be tested for my PSA levels. I'm sure I'll hear the upshot of that shortly. But anyway, that was the first thing. So the second thing is, yes, the hormone therapy has worked in part, and obviously I'm pleased that it seems to have reduced the cancer in the prostate gland itself. Concerned that it hadn't worked in the lymph nodes. He looked a bit puzzled by that. I think that he's more used to either it works overall or it doesn't work at all. So only working in the prostate gland but not in the lymph glands was a cause for concern. I don't know the science behind that. I can only report on what I was told. So they're going to start the radiotherapy early April. And it turns out I'm not going to be going to the Royal Sussex County Hospital. I'm going to be going to a place that's, as the crow flies closer to me, a clinic near in an area called Preston Park, which is sort of just down the road from me here, really. But it is much less well served in terms of public transport, and it's at the bottom of a long steep hill. So getting back home after those appointments is going to be interesting, particularly based on some of the things that he told me, which I'll pass on to you in a minute. The radiotherapy itself, I've been assured that I shouldn't suffer too many side effects. We'll see. He says that what tends to happen is that you certainly initially you don't get too many side effects, but the side effects do build up over time. Fatigue. He said there might be a small amount of skin burning, but nowhere near as much as if the radiotherapy was actually directed closer to the surface of the skin, such as for melanomas, that kind of stuff. So advice I was given by someone to, invest in aloe vera lotion. It's not a waste of money, but he was implying that that probably won't be needed so much. The idea of the aloe vera is literally to kind of treat effectively what you get, which is sunburn, from the radiotherapy. But because the radiotherapy is penetrating deeper, much deeper beneath the surface of my skin into my prostate gland, with any luck, I won't need much of that. So my stock of aloe vera will last longer. But we'll see. Again, that's something that might build up over time, that as the number of doses I get increases, the burning effect may become more prominent, even if it's more localized. He also pointed out to me that what they are going to do, I'm going to need another CT scan before the treatment starts, before the radiotherapy starts, and also they may put a small tattoo or series of tattoos on my belly, basically, to help with the targeting of the radiotherapy. I think I might have mentioned that someone had mentioned that back in one of my earlier videos. To be honest with you, I don't remember. It's been quite a while now. So anyway, I may get this interesting little. They're not huge, we're not going to be talking about dolphins or pegasuses or anything like that. We're talking about little kind of crosshairs, almost, pretty much. If you're in the design or printing business, if I said crop marks, that's how I'm thinking of it. How appropriate for a designer. I'm going to get crop marks on my belly to help them target the radiotherapy. He's made clear that everything I can do between now and then to lose more weight, in spite of the fact that the hormone therapy, one of the effects of the hormone therapy I am noticing is a gradual creep back of weight that I've lost. A few weeks ago, I was at about 18 stone 2, 3, something like that, and I've definitely put kind of half a stone back on. which is very disappointing, and I'm obviously going to have to redouble my efforts to shed that as much as I can. The idea being to literally reduce the amount of flesh and fat and everything that the rays have to penetrate. That's going to be a challenge. Let's see what I can do about that. Anyway, so that's the build up to the therapy. Then the therapy itself, as I say, is going to be relatively local to me. But not 6 weeks, 7.5 weeks. I think he said 39 days in total. And so it's kind of every day, Monday to Friday, for nearly 8 weeks. What he has done, he has listened to my concerns about the disruption to my ability to work. And I said, so if I can possibly have those appointments towards the end of the day, I'd consider that helpful. So from my point of view, if I feel like, okay, I can rest overnight after treatment, I can get up in the morning, get as much work as I can done before I then have to go to have my radiotherapy and the prep for the radiotherapy, which I'll talk about in a second, that would be very helpful to me. He listened, and he sent a note through to the team that's actually going to be administering the radiotherapy to see if they can give me a kind of late in the day slot. Now, how late in the day means, that might mean, depending on what their schedule is, might mean 3 o'clock in the afternoon, might mean 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or 7 o'clock. I've no idea. So I'm waiting to hear what the upshot of that is. I'm going to hear from the team organising my actual radiotherapy treatment. Every time I go for radiotherapy, I have to prep for that radiotherapy. And this is where there's no way of softening the blow. It's not going to be pleasant. I need to drink lots of liquid. I think he said it helps if my bladder's full, but that my bowel is empty. And what that means is every day I'm going to have to give myself an enema. A minor enema, he said. I'll be honest, I don't know the difference between a major enema and a minor enema, and that's hard to say, right? But it's obviously going to mean sticking stuff up my backside and flushing myself out. I get the impression that it is an enema, not because when I've been for a colonoscopy, I've got given some stuff to drink, and you sort of drink it and you feel absolutely fine for an hour or so, and then don't feel fine anymore, and suddenly you're in the loo. I got the impression that it's not that. I don't think it's administered orally. I should have asked more precisely, of course, but again, that's something I'll be told about by the team administering the treatment. I actually get the impression that it's an actual enema. That's going to be fun. Irony. Not looking forward to that, obviously. So then I have to get myself down to this clinic, which is about, as the crow flies, it's about half a mile away, but because of the way the roads are, it's probably going to be, seem longer than that, probably closer to a mile, I think. The route you actually have to take, so about a 20-minute walk, something like that. Unfortunately, from what I remember, the clinic where this is going to be done, there isn't a car park. There isn't like a patient's car park. I think there's only a staff car park, which is a shame, because obviously part of me thinks, okay, I can whiz down there, park in the car park, whiz back home, and then because one of the after effects is going to be, he's told me it will make me want to wee more often because it can affect the bladder, and it will probably irritate the bowel. So despite the enema, and it will increasingly, as more and more treatments are administered, the likelihood of having an irritable bowel are increased. So he said the frequency with which you use the toilet is likely to increase. So I am lucky that I work from home. But it is, as I suspected, there's all these other aspects, quite apart from the time taken to travel to get the treatment and come home, There's these other things that mean that, I suppose I could take a laptop into the loo with me. Don't think that's terribly hygienic, though. And I'm not sure that clients will want me emailing them whilst I'm sitting on the throne. So that's going to be fun, but something I've got to face. So hopefully if I can get the treatments later in the day, I can just come home and not do anything for a while, for an hour or two, whilst I recover. From the sound of things, over the initial few weeks, I may require less recovery than towards the end of the treatment and after the treatment. He's warned me that even after the treatment stops, the after effects, the side effects may persist for some weeks, I think he said. So obviously that's going to depend entirely on your individual case. For some people they might recover quite quickly, and other people it might persist for some time. I've got no idea till it happens. The other thing he pointed out was, we already know, and I've said and I've been honest with you guys, that the hormone therapy has suppressed my testosterone to the point where I haven't thought about sex in a long time. And he said that, yes, eventually, after a couple of years, some years, when they finally take me off the hormone treatment, there is potential that my testosterone levels would recover, if left to their own devices. Unfortunately, one of the other side effects of the radiotherapy in that part of your body is that it may permanently affect my, how did he put it, sexual performance. So let's let that sink in. That's because of the radiotherapy, not because of the hormone treatment. That's actually because of the radiotherapy on your prostate gland. That it is likely to have, almost certain to have, long-term effects on your on your sexual performance. Impotence, let's use the word, can cause impotence, can cause temporary or permanent impotence. So this is where I'm incredibly lucky. I've got a loving partner who has been with me every step of the way of this and understands, was there with me today listening to this. And that is something, of course, which may require therapy of its own, psychological, physical. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because obviously for the time being, for the next couple of months at least, that's a subject that just isn't going to, pardon the pun, isn't going to come up. I think, but that is definitely something in terms of the long-term psychological side effects that is going to have to be dealt with. It's going to have to be attacked head-on. Life decisions are going to have to be made. I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos that one of the options for people who've got really severe prostate cancer, they can end up having what's called an orchidectomy, which is basically castration, physical castration. What's been happening to me for the time being is that the hormone therapy, the Prostate 3, has been causing a chemical castration. Same sort of stuff they give to rapists, right? People who they lock up in prison and they chemically castrate them to suppress, any inappropriate feelings. So even if, as a normal adult, you have completely appropriate feelings, the Prostate 3 hormone therapy, okay. So those were quite sobering things to hear. I think that's fair to say. A bit of an understatement. On the upside, trying to find little positives in amongst all this, I talked to him about the side effects I've been having because of the hormone therapy, as we've talked about before and previously. Hot flushes, mad emotional swings. He said, can't do anything about the mad emotional swings. Basically, you're just going to have to live with it. The oncologist, nice guy, obviously busy, not a touchy-feely kind of person. Deals with the facts, gives them to you straight, and basically had nothing extra to add about the emotional content of the side effects. It was basically, that happens. As far as the hot flushes are concerned, bit of a pleasant surprise, which is now we might be able to do something about that. And he has prescribed me a drug called medroxyprogesterone. I'm going to hold this up so you can see. Can you see that? Right. So, medroxyprogesterone, which should help moderate the hot flushes. So, I've already taken the first 4. I've got to take 4 a day in one hit. So I've got quite a few. You heard them all fall out there. They're not big, fortunately. I think they're 5 milligrams each. I'm going to pop one out of its packet to show you. The brand is Provera. 5 milligram tablets. Yeah, I'll pop one out. They're tiny little, can you see that? Tiny little blue tablets like that. There you go. That's one of these tablets like that. I've got to take 4 a day in one hit, so I'll probably take them in the evening, because one of the things that's been happening recently is that the hot flashes at night have actually been waking me up. Oh my God, suddenly in the middle of the night, throwing off the bed covers. The missus and I have got now separate duvets. We've figured that one out. So if in the middle of the night I, or she, because bless her heart, she's going through the menopause, need to throw off covers and stuff to cool down, it won't disturb the other one. But I've been doing a lot of duvet throwing in recent weeks. So with any luck, those might at least help that. And he said if they do work, because they don't work with everyone, they're often prescribed to women, menopausal women. I'm a man, so they can't guarantee that it'll work for me. But if they do work, pardon the rustling because I'm going to put them back in the box. If they do work, I can go to my own GP and get a re-up on the prescription. So that is a little glimmer of hope about one of the side effects at least. So again, they're called medroxyprogesterone, and I've got a big leaflet about about them all, how to take them, getting the most from your treatments, what the side effects can be, can they cause problems. Before taking medroxyprogesterone, check, I'm not pregnant, I don't have migraines, asthma, epilepsy, right? So, like all medicines, read the leaflet, make sure you take all the advice and stuff. But that's a little glimmer of hope about the hormonal side effects. So, that was the meeting. It was quite short, 15 minutes, something like that, with the oncologist. As I say, busy man, likes to stick to the facts, doesn't like repeating anything, or doesn't like you repeating anything either. He's quite, not quite brusque, but brisk. Okay, I think it's fair to say he's brisk. Highly intelligent, busy guy, got to get on. There's the facts, deal with it, off you go. All the kind of touchy-feely stuff these days, I really get the impression is left to the Macmillan nurses, the Macmillan charity, cancer charity specialist nurses who work with the urology department. And so I did try. I said I was going to try calling the Macmillan people, and I did earlier. And unfortunately, they were on a reduced service today. Now, whether they've all come down with coronavirus or it's just Friday and they were busy and short-staffed, I couldn't say. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to talk to any of the Macmillan specialist nurses today. So I'll try again next week. Now, so that was the meeting. So I am, I've got this reality. Before I went, I think I was saying that one of the big problems is not knowing. Oh gosh, not knowing. Well, now I do know, and I don't feel any better. I'll be honest with you. We came out and we actually sort of strolled down to Brighton seafront. Unfortunately, it's been a lovely day here today. Sun was out. Lovely sunset and everything. We decided to go for, literally get some fresh air. Because this was, of course, after I'd also had the blood test. Don't forget, I went over the road and got stabbed for some blood and had to go to the pharmacy to get these tablets. So we went for a stroll along the seafront after that. And sorry, but I was really upset. Hard, if you've been brutally rational, but you can't apply brutal rationality to this. I suppose I'd been worried about this for a long time, and now having it confirmed that, yep, it's happening. The hormone treatment has only been partially successful. The treatment's going to have to go on for a bit longer than I first anticipated. I suppose I thought, okay, 6 weeks, so if they start me at the end of March, and that'll go through to early May, and now it's like, okay, the treatment's actually starting early April sometime, and it's going to be going through to much more towards the end of May, and my birthday's at the end of May. And that I'm going to have this extra at least kind of week and a half to 2 weeks of additional treatment compared to what I'd in my head reconciled myself to. Oh, it just hit me really hard. And also you go through, I say you, I went through, let me talk from personal, because it's, it's obviously your mileage may vary, but I don't know, maybe because of the manner of the oncologist, I don't know, I felt small. He listened to me, he listened to my concerns, but as I said, he's not a touchy-feely kind of guy, and I felt like I'd been rushed. I felt like there was, I can't put my finger on it exactly, I felt like there was more I wanted to say, or that I ought to have said something else, though I can't put my finger on exactly what. I felt like, even though I'm frankly, pardon my French, but fuck it, I'm a highly intelligent guy, and I thought I was prepared for that meeting, and I came out having felt like I had been unprepared. Does that make sense to you? Like it can be like if you have a business meeting and, in your head you've got it sorted out and it doesn't go quite as you expect it to go, and you come out feeling unsettled, right? You come out feeling that you've not quite expressed yourself in the right way, you've not said quite the right things, you haven't maybe even got quite the right information out of them, that the whole, if you like, tone of the thing wasn't quite what you were expecting. And that's kind of how I felt, just kind of, it's really hard to say, I obviously I'm going to have to take time and talk to some close friends and stuff, and maybe Macmillan nurses, to get to the bottom of why do I feel like this. I mean, obviously there's the hormones playing a part, of course they are. And joining in the fun right now. Maybe you can tell I'm having a hot flush. What a laugh. And I just came away feeling that I wasn't in control. And obviously this is one of the things I'm having to deal with, and anyone in this position has to deal with. There is a shitload that happens at times like this where you're not in control. You're not in control of anything. I'm not in control of my body. My body's given me cancer, right? And there's nothing I can do about that. All I can try and do is do my best to make it possible for the technicians to be able to cure the thing as quickly as possible. So, losing weight, eating sensibly, making sure I'm keeping the vitamins up. But a part of that is as well, the headology, the coping strategies, the keeping myself positive, determined, or at the very least stoical. Funnily enough, I've been listening to an audiobook recently about stoicism, which I think is to be honest, as good as I'm going to get. Maybe it's because I'm British, but I think I'm not going to be able over the coming weeks and months to get happy clappy about, oh gosh, this is such a wonderful thing I'm going through. It isn't. It's fucking horrible. Right? I'm hating this. I'm making the best of it I can. I'm hoping that by doing things like this video and, encouraging guys of a certain age to go out and get themselves checked, for God's sake, do it. But I can't make what's happening to me any less than it is, and it is outside my control. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky. I'm not going to die from this. I'm not going to die from this. But between now and, please, I'm touching some wood here. The day when they say, oh, Mr. Hyde, good news, you're clear. Whenever that is, hopefully sometime in the next few months. There's some stuff I'm struggling to think about it. I've got to think about it. I mean, this is the thing, things like self-administering bloody enemas and things like that. Who wants to do that? Gwyneth Paltrow. But no, in reality, who wants to do that? Nobody wants to have to do that. This is life reduced to its utter, raw, deeply unpleasant basics, isn't it? None of us want to have to deal with that. But I'm trying to, anyone who's got any kind of disease, obviously I'm empathizing a great deal more with people who suffer from digestive diseases, as also other guys suffering from prostate cancer going through the same thing. And this is one of those things. No one told me about the self-administered enemas. That was a discovery. No one told me that. Right? So me passing this on to you today, I hope, is if you ever go through this, at least you'll be forewarned and hopefully forearmed about the reality of some of the stuff you're going to have to do. Because I don't remember reading anything about, before every treatment, 5 days a week for 7.5 weeks, you're going to have to give yourself an enema. Bloody hell. Okay. But yeah, the psychological aspects of dealing with this, big. Some days it seems to, I know that people who suffer from depression, there was a wonderful book written called The Black Dog, where some people with depression, when they're dealing with depression, often they think of it as it's a black dog, and sometimes the black dog is a tiny little puppy that's completely under control, and other days it's this big, huge, looming beast of a thing that's basically blocking out the light. That's a pretty good analogy, perhaps because it's prostate cancer, I should say. It's I won't say. All right, but it's a big thing. it's a big thing at times that's blocking out the light, and there are other times when it's just a little thing. You know, if I'm making light of it, there's that joke in Father Ted. Do you remember the joke in Father Ted where he's holding the toy cow and he's explaining to Father Dougal? He says, "Oh yes, this cow is small. Those cows are far away." And that's kind of what it's a bit like, you know. I've got this tiny little book here, actually. So there are times when it's like this, that's my life and the prostate cancer, and there are times when it's that, right? The more I can make it like that, the better. But there are going to be days when, hey, it's like that. So, folks, thanks for watching. I hope I haven't made you feel too miserable. I want to say to everyone, I've been getting so many lovely messages again. Thank you so much. There's one final thing. I was due to be going to, I'm involved in a hobby, wargaming hobby, and I was due to be going to an event tomorrow. And meeting up with a bunch of guys who I'm quite fond of some of them. You know, I know quite a lot of them, at least acquainted with most of them. They know me because of my role in the particular hobby. And I was looking forward to going to see them tomorrow. But of course, the other thing we have, the other small elephant in the room, coronavirus in the UK. Can you believe this? Turning out to be quite a year, isn't it? But anyway, and quite apart from the hormone therapy I'm on and about to receive radiotherapy, I'm also type 2 diabetic, which puts me in a high risk category of not only contracting the coronavirus but also suffering the nasty end or scale symptoms of coronavirus, potentially. I'm fine at the moment, and it's ironic, isn't it, because I've got a flu vaccine, ordinary British flu vaccine in the arm a few months ago, so I'm fine when it comes to ordinary flu. But oh no, coronavirus completely sidesteps that. Ordinary flu vaccine does not protect you against coronavirus. It's a different virus. And so therefore the advice I've been given is to be extremely cautious about attending large gatherings where there's going to be a lot of people in close contact with one another, and at a games thing they are in close contact with one another, you know, not in a rude way. I mean, simply because you're all assembled round tables, quite tightly packed in small rooms, playing games together, obviously handling miniature soldiers and things, lots of people handling them and stuff, lots of people automatically, oh, lovely to see you, shake hands, which is lovely, you know, under normal circumstances. I'm the first one to be out there with an outstretched hand, and that's part of the problem. So unfortunately, I've had to do a last minute cancellation of my plans for tomorrow, and I feel really bad. Not so much for me, you know, hey, you know, I've got stuff to do. I've got masses of work to try and get done before the radiotherapy starts. I feel really sorry for particularly the guy who's organised the event and some of the people who I know were hoping to see me there. And I feel really rotten about disappointing them. But, yeah, I can't afford the risk, which is just like, oh. Another just tedious aspect of not being in the best of health when a major world pandemic comes around. How crazy times we're living in. But that's the reality. So anyway, once again, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you're getting some kind of value out of these videos. I hope they're just not making you feel rubbish and miserable, because I don't want you to feel rubbish, and I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I just want you to understand and hopefully learn something from this. And as I keep saying, if you're a guy If you're a white guy, 50, 55 plus. If you're a black guy, 45, 50 plus. Go and get yourself checked, please, please. If there's just one thing that I can get out of, passing on what I'm passing on here in terms of knowledge and experience and, the emotion of it, is if I can prevent any of you from going through this, because it's caught even earlier than it was for me, if you can get reassurance by getting checked that you haven't got what I've got, and if it turns out you have got what I've got, that it's been caught and you'll be treated, and that with any luck what I'm telling you will make you much more aware much earlier about what kind of procedures you're going to go through, what kind of treatment you might have, what the side effects will be, and what the effects, not just physically but emotionally, will be. All right, so get yourself checked. Thanks everyone. I'll be reporting again relatively soon, perhaps after I get those PSA scores back from the blood that they took today and from the CT scan they're going to do to me soon. And obviously then sometime early April I'll be reporting on what it is actually like to undergo radiotherapy for prostate cancer. Thanks. Take care everyone. Bye bye.